The market's crashing. The market's crashing. Case-Shiller is down this month. The most recent Case-Shiller this week actually decelerated. Can you believe that? Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Bubble Turns, Burns, Crashes, Does Nothing, Who Knows Anymore, right? Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. Today is what? I think the 27th of October. Month is almost done. Halloween's coming up this weekend. Hope everyone's doing well. Lots on the go, but you know what? Not much has really been talked about in housing. Why? Because it's quiet out there, because we have too many other things to focus on these days. This video is brought to you by our friends at Foreclosures.com. If you want to know about what's going on in your neck of the woods, your own backyard, with respect to distressed housing, go to gethousingdata.com, gethousingdata.com. Check it out. You can find out what's going to auction, what's in pre-foreclosure, what are tax deed, what else is for sale, all these other great things you can find with respect to off-market properties, which have the most discounts available when you're purchasing a property. So check that out, gethousingdata.com. Thank you. So, here's the scoop. And I guess, how I'm positioning this is, as you know, the housing crash has already begun. Sort of, maybe, we're not sure. Well, you know why? As I said before, it's because what? It's because it's a managed crash, okay? So are we going to crash like last time? Probably not. We're going to have a lot of things happening in various metro markets across the country. And really, the MLS on-market stuff is going to remain strong for quite some time. Where you got to look is the off-market distressed properties. That's where you find deals. Some of those will manifest itself into the MLS over time. We're just at the very starting point of that right now. So here's what I'm seeing, actually, okay? I'm actually seeing properties not appraising. So deals that are getting, to closing, or the financing is getting arranged, and they're actually coming in, I guess you could say, less appraised values, less than what the sales price is, which to me means that there's a slight shift going on. It may not be in every market across the country. It's happening down here, and I see a lot of pending listings are back on the market as active. So to me, that's just a starting point. It's a subtle sign that says, hey, maybe, the numbers aren't there anymore. So if homeowners are going to continue as sellers to try to push the envelope and to max out as best they can, there's going to come a point in time where they can't do that anymore, and they have to get a little bit of realization. And of course, buyers are not going to pay, and they'll revolt. Simple as that. So if we take a look at what the number one news is today, we're going to talk about a couple things. So I'm going to, it'll be a longer video, but I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can, or speed it up if you'd like, guys. Home price growth decelerated for the first time in more than a year. So Case-Shiller came out on Tuesday. Case-Shiller Home Price Index comes out on the last Tuesday of the month, so obviously it came out yesterday. Today's Wednesday. So interesting that, what we're seeing right now is, all these headlines are saying markets, maybe, is this a sign of market cooling, sign of market slowing down, et cetera, et cetera. But when we actually take a look at, decelerated, because, words, give impressions, but when you start to dive into the numbers, we take a look at it, basically the annual increase, I guess you could, came in at what? 10-city composite index came in at 18.6%, down from 19.2. The 20-city came in at 19.7, down from 20.0. So we're talking very, very small decreases in year-over-year market price appreciation, negligible at best. But I guess the whole point is that, hey, it's a starting point, right? It did happen. Will it continue? Well, as we roll into the summer, the fall, winter months, things do tend to slow down a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, the national index pretty much stayed the same. It's the 10-city and the 20-city composite went down. Big winners, of course, Phoenix, San Diego, and where I am in Tampa had the year-over-year gains. I think Phoenix has basically led. Oh Lord, Phoenix has led the country, or the 20 city index in year-over-year appreciation for I don't know how many consecutive months now. So just something to think about. The market's still hot. This is August data, by the way, because realize that Case-Shiller, because of the complexity of the calculations, what they do is they don't, unlike, say, National Association of Realtors, what gives you your median price points the next month, Case-Shiller is a little more complex in calculation, so it takes us an extra month in there. So even though we're in October, we're talking about August data here. So ultimately, the commentary on Case-Shiller is the fact that August was still a strong month. We've previously suggested that the strength in the U.S. housing market was driven by in part by the reaction to the COVID pandemic. And that's, people are leaving the urban centers, going to suburbia, and thus pushing up prices. So that's been their, I guess, sort of discussion point for I don't know how many consecutive months now. Phoenix led the increase with 33.3% for the 27th consecutive month, followed by San Diego and Tampa, which actually got up to number 3, which is pretty surprising. But since I'm here, not that surprising in the end. But everybody else is having double-digit gains. So, we're not at the point where we're seeing, like 9% or 5%. Phoenix with 33% year-over-year increase, which pretty much means, you don't have a chance of buying a home in Phoenix. So who's buying these homes? I don't know. Whether it's cash buyers, whether it's iBuyers, or there's other investors, or people that have good financing, I don't know. But you can see the dollar values is moving up all over the place. So obviously you can see that's the Case-Shiller indices. You've got the national being the dark, thick line. You've got the small, thin line being looks like the 10 city, and then the dashed line being the 20 city composite. So you can see that, obviously peak in 2006, trough in 2012. And you can see we're more above the peak now than we have ever been with respect to, and it's gone up kind of exponentially. So really the sort of 20 to 21 time frame on this chart really has an exponential sort of feel to it with respect to where the line's going on the graph. If you want to go even deeper than that, you can take a look at the chart here, which shows national index is 45.5% up from the 2006 peak. If you take a look at where the trough was in February 2012, the current value from the trough is over 100%. So really, if you were fortunate enough to buy your property, in that 2011-12 time frame, you've probably doubled the value of your home, which is sort of what this is actually saying here. So if you think about it, pretty significant dollar values here. Obviously, from peak, from the 20 cities up 33%, and the 10 cities up almost 27%. But really, 45.5% on the national index is pretty significant when you take a look at where this was going. We've just seen the past couple of months sort of, into the 30s from the peak and into the low 40s, now kind of mid 40s here. So how high is this going to go? Don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty much, saying that we're probably really, August is kind of like the last month really that I look at summer selling seasons available. So people who are in different parts of the country, maybe their school starting on Labor Day, so therefore they're getting their homes closed and moving end of August. So I think really you're going to see we have lots of sales, a lot of things going on in August. We'll see what happens in September if we see a little decrease in activity and a decrease in values from the peak here. But we'll see. You never know, right? It's all about what's going on, and also, median price going up, so that's driving value as well too. So just so we can review this quickly, the percent change from a year ago from August 2020 to August 2021: Atlanta 20.2%, Boston 17.7%, Charlotte 21.7%, Chicago 12.7%, Cleveland 15.5%, Dallas 24.6%, Denver 21.5%, Detroit 15.7%, Las Vegas 23.8%, LA 18.4%, Miami 23.8%, Minneapolis, Minnesota 14.0%, New York 17.2%, Phoenix the leader at 33.3%, Portland at 19.2%, San Diego the second position at 26.2%, San Francisco 21.2%, Seattle 24.3%, Tampa squeaks into number 3 position, 24.3%, and Washington, actually, did I read that wrong? Sorry, Tampa at 25.9%, Washington at 15.1%. So basically, you've got, and I may have missed one of those and rejigged the column there, but anyway, you see the point. Double-digit year-over-year appreciation. When's it going to end? Well, here's what we got going for us right now. It's almost like we have two separate housing markets that are actually independently operating. We have the retail market, which continues to rise every month. We still have low inventory. Home builders aren't building as quick as they could. We now got some other supply chain issues that are going to sort of slow down the home building. I deal with someone, again, just as a side note here, working on the build to rent stuff I'm trying to implement right now. So that's interesting to you, build to rent, build to flip. We're starting that stuff down here in our area. We got kind of a triangle where we're going to do this. And there's a great opportunities here. It really is investment type pricing, so you might want to reach out to me on that. But just talking about supply chain. So right now, the wood, the framing, whatever. Prices have sort of come back down to earth. That supplies back up with that, but now it's other items like windows and concrete block that are taking time. So it's almost like it's going to take a few months to affect everything. But again, engaging in the new build stuff right now, it wouldn't matter because of all the preliminary work you have to anyway. So if you've got homes that are being built right now, an issue, stuff that's being planned to start shortly, but stuff that's not even started yet, I don't think it'll be a problem. But you can just see what's going on in the marketplace here. All right, so next slide. So here's something for you too. If you would be so kind and help my channel grow, smash that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. And I ask every time I do a video, if you think you're a subscriber, could you please double check, because subscribers have a tendency to fall off. I'm not saying that you guys do. There's other powers that maybe make you drop off and unaware of that mess around with the channel. So please just reevaluate your subscription, smash that subscribe button, help my channel grow. I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, well, this is when we talk about the two markets, okay? So guess what? We talked Case-Shiller, Phoenix, San Diego, Tampa, top three. Everything is going, lots going on here. But guess what? So this is why we really have, I think, two separate housing markets happening right now. So Q3 2021, what do we see? Foreclosure activity begins to see significant increases as the foreclosure moratorium was lifted. So we all knew that this was going to happen. It's a matter of time for it to get here. So it's just starting to sort of take shape now. We don't have a ton of pre-foreclosures out there. Well, there is, but they're just sort of getting back into the play here. We're seeing an uptick in foreclosure, as they say, foreclosure filings, foreclosure auctions are increasing. So it's just sort of really starting to pick up steam right now. But obviously, when we've come from a nothing, like virtually nothing, because of forbearance, various moratoria that's out there, whether it's federal moratoria, whether it's imposed moratorium by a lender, or whether it's local, city, county, or state moratoria, things just have not been moving in the stressed property world, which really hurts the real estate market for inventory and to push prices down and to provide some realism in various markets. So guess what? I guess you could say it was July 31st. Technically speaking, that moratorium, the foreclosure moratorium, was lifted, and things started to happen right now. So we basically can see that, lenders started the foreclosure process on almost about 25,000 U.S. properties in Q3, up 32% from the previous quarter and up 67% from a year ago. The first double-digit quarterly percent increase since 2014. So clearly, when you have roughly 18, 20 months of no activity, when this hits, it's going to be somewhat significant. So states that posted the greatest number of foreclosure starts in Q3 2021 were California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Illinois. Now, doesn't surprise me, because guess what? Those are the most populated states out there. So you're going to see those numbers as far as a just peg count of starts. They're going to be pretty high. Among the 220 metro locations, you have New York up there, Chicago, LA, Miami, and Houston. So again, those are the bigger cities in those states anyway. So there's no surprise here whatsoever. But the point is, lenders now are going, we need to get our property back. We need to take care of business. We need to sell these properties, take them back, do short sales, let them go to auction, get paid, so we now can move some money around here. And people have been fortunate that they could stay in the property for how many months now, not having to pay mortgage and avoiding foreclosure with either forbearance or the moratoria or other things that they can do. Well, now that stuff is kind of coming to an end, and they're going to have to sort of face the music and look for different solutions if they want to continue to be in their home or try to find some help. All right, highest foreclosure rates were found in Nevada, Illinois, and Delaware. So really, foreclosure rate is foreclosure per capita. Like, other words, in this case, one in every 1,463 housing units. You know what I mean? So that's the highest ratio was in Nevada, which doesn't surprise me. Again, the four big states were California, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida, the Sun Belt states with respect to the last housing crisis. So we're going to see the same thing going on right now. So again, Illinois up there, Delaware up there, New Jersey up there, Florida up there as far as per capita. We take a look at rates for cities: Atlantic City, New Jersey, Peoria, Illinois, Bakersfield, California, Cleveland, and Las Vegas. So again, nothing surprises me here. These are all same cities, states that had issues in the last housing crisis. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going to have them again as time goes on. So, but the opportunity here is to jump in on this. Now, this is something I do want to address, because the average time to foreclose increases 11% from last year. So yeah, so really, if these homes were in the foreclosure process and they just were stuck for a moratorium time frame period, clearly the number of days, average days to foreclose will increase. So the average is 924 days, slightly up from 922 days in the previous quarter, but up 11% from 830 days in Q3 2020. Now, I want you to understand that this is a bit misleading here. So this is the average of, when the foreclosure is filed to when it actually goes to auction. That's the average. So when you look at 924 days, you go, oh my goodness, it's going to take, that's like, 3 years, just under 3 years. I got plenty of time. And then going to the sort of the housing narrative with respect to, hey, everybody who's got problems with foreclosures or forbearance, they're going to sell. Why? Look at, it's going to take them 2 to 3 years to go through the foreclosure process. Well, yeah, it can take longer, but I can tell you right now that the foreclosure process will speed up. It's already speeding up. There's no reason for the process to take a lot of time unless the lender has issues or homeowners defend it with an attorney or play some of the games that we know how to play. I can tell you that in our state here in Florida, the Supreme Court back in April issued an administrative order, and I've spoken about this before, to all the circuit court judges, civil judges across the state, and basically saying, number one, if you got litigation going on now, conclude it. Be aggressive with case management. Get it either dismissed or concluded. Why? Because we're going to get a lot of these cases, whether they're going to be eviction cases or foreclosure cases. And oh, by the way, we're not going to listen to any moratorium. We're not going to abide by that. We're going to push stuff through. And oh, by the way, we don't want a repeat of what happened in the last housing crisis when cases were going on for 4 years, 5 years, whatever. Hey, I just picked up a deal right now that the foreclosure was filed in 2008. It's a zombie foreclosure. It's still out there, believe it or not. So weird and wonderful things can happen in the world. You know what I mean? And the lenders and the courts don't want this to happen again. So as much as 924 days is a lot, and some states do have longer processes, you're going to find now that the volume's not there right now to cause it. We have better data. We have better processes. There's more technology out there. The courts are better off. Auctions are online as opposed to going in person to the county and the courthouse steps. So everything that happened early on in the last housing crisis that caused problems and issues, the robo-filing, all those things, all that doesn't exist anymore. All those better systems, more aggressive attorneys, banks want their money. Like, just so many things have changed that we're not going to see foreclosures that are taking 3, 4, 5 years anymore that are being filed right now. And I can tell you that just before the pandemic hit, I was doing some analysis on foreclosure filings here in our area, and I was looking at stuff getting done in 6 months from filing to auction if the homeowner didn't respond or didn't try to do anything. So basically that was already taking place. We already saw an increase in speed, a decrease in the time frame on the overall level. So just please keep that in mind. So that's a big point here. It's not going to be like last time. All right. So if we take a look at the high level takeaways here, nationwide in September, 1 in every 7,000 properties had a foreclosure filing. States with the highest foreclosure rate in September were Florida, Illinois, Delaware, Nevada, and New Jersey. So again, no surprises. Over 10,000 properties started the foreclosure process in September, up 23% from the previous month and up 106% from a year ago. So the article here from Adam is based on Q3. This is highlighting September itself, though. Lenders completed the foreclosure process on about 2,600 properties in September, up 8% from the previous month and up 33% from a year ago. So again, that's going to increase because you couldn't really foreclose on some properties, but now everything's opened up. Now everything can move at a lot faster pace. So what are we seeing here locally? I'm seeing, I mentioned earlier about, things not appraising, a lot of pendings popping back on as active, which means probably didn't appraise or where there were loan issues. Who knows? Securitized issues. Who knows? Now we're starting to see foreclosure filings pick up. We're seeing foreclosure auctions pick up, and people who were in process before that were kind of in like limbo. Well, they're going to be back at it right now. So everything is just on the starting point of increasing. This is not housing crisis stuff right now. This is just kind of the starting point. Now, the article actually shows. They ranked every state with respect to where they are in the foreclosure market. So I'm going to just breeze through this right now. The arrows obviously are the top 10. All right. So really Alabama 14, Alaska 23. And this is really based on their, properties with filings, foreclosure rates, a couple other things here. So I don't know how they really scored it, but again, you can see it. Arizona's 34, Arkansas 39, California's number 9 in the country, Colorado 42, Connecticut 10. I should have put an arrow there. Delaware number 3. DC doesn't really count, so they don't have it as a number. I guess Florida number 5, Georgia 16, Hawaii 24. So you can see it's kind of all over the place here, but this is going down by alphabetical order. So just bear with me in this. Okay, let's take a look. Waiting for it to sort of move to the next slide here. Illinois, number 2. Indiana, number 7. Iowa, 12. Kansas, 22. Kentucky, 40. Louisiana, 20. Maine, 17. Maryland, 11. Massachusetts, 28. Michigan, 30. Minnesota, 41. Mississippi, 35. Missouri, 25. Montana, 47. Right? We go to the next one here. Sometimes the system just takes a while. Nebraska, 44. Nevada, number 1. New Hampshire, 36. Jersey, number 4. New Mexico, 13. New York, 26. I was surprised about New York. New York has a big backlog like Illinois, a huge backlog. North Carolina, 19. North Dakota, 46. Ohio, number 6. Ohio's always up there with places like Cleveland, Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati. Cleveland's one of the places with a lot of foreclosures. Oklahoma, 21. Oregon, 48. Pennsylvania, 31. So you can see that it's kind of all over the map depending on where you live. But again, South Carolina, number 8, Rhode Island, number 32, 50 for South Dakota. These are how they rank from 1 all the way down. Texas, 18. I'm not going to go through the rest, but you see where we're at here, okay? So ultimately, certain states are going to have more activity for various reasons in the foreclosure rate processing, etc. Here are the top 10 zip codes with the highest foreclosure rates in Q3. You kind of got interesting here. We got Kansas, we've got California, we've got a few in Illinois, we've got Ohio, so really, and one place in New York. So you got a couple in Kansas, a few in Illinois, one in California, a couple in Cleveland, one in New York. So really, this is not surprising. Kansas, it's Kansas City, Kansas, not Kansas City, Missouri. The two states actually run, obviously they're side by side with Kansas City on the other side of the river there. The two states have different foreclosure structures. One's a trustee state, one's a judicial state. So Kansas City, Kansas is on the judicial side. But anyway, the whole point is that we're going to start to see various zip codes, various locations manifest and have more being filed, more issues come through, etc. So all this is going to grow. That's the whole point. We're just on the early cusp of this. The shift has started. In fact, it started July 31st. So we're trying to get out there, doing a lot of stuff right now, set up a lot of processes, a lot of systems, getting a lot of things nailed down. Basically, I have an attorney firm that does all of our processing negotiations, and he's a good friend of mine. I just talked to him before I did the video today about another a case situation, how we should pursue that. And through him, we've got a probate attorney that we work on some of these. We can do some of these deals because a lot of people, some of these foreclosures, they're there because people have passed away and they've not started probate. So those are like a double whammy. So we've got a probate attorney now that we work with that can get it through probate so we can do the short sale. Also got a bankruptcy attorney that we're working with as well. So bankruptcy is a bona fide method to actually stop and cancel the foreclosure auction. So if and you can do it typically, technically they can do it an hour before if they can file it, but you don't want to do that and wait that long, clearly. But the point is the bankruptcy stops the foreclosure dead in its tracks, all right? So, we've put together all these pieces because one thing I do know is that a lot of distressed property, it's not like, hey, we'll buy it, take out the loan, everything's great, we'll get her satisfied. They have issues, and sometimes they have multiple issues. Sometimes there's tax deed sales on top of this too. So there could be, that's I guess my point is that each sort of situation could have multiple things going on that have to be addressed prior to even starting the short sale or selling it, etc. So that's what we're going to find now as time moves on, and we're in place. So I guess you could say my role is to figure all that stuff out. So I've got all the pieces in place. Now we're kicking in our marketing. Now we're going to get our calls, outbound calls going the whole bit, because now I'm really confident that whatever comes our way. We've also got another bankruptcy solution too. So whatever, we've got ways to help homeowners buy them more time in their property, figure out some of the legal issues, do the short sale, settle that, get them on our way, acquire property, whether you want to live in it or make some money, etc. So we have all those things kind of figured out. That's my point here. And it's not going to get any easier. Every time we do something, it's always more difficult. But my point is, not many people actually do this, but people are taking interest. So everyone I speak with is getting ready for this. So I get so many emails from we'll call it, people selling courses, this and that, and they're all trying to sort of angle in on, well, you can do this and make $10,000 with all these foreclosures. Well, some of that stuff really doesn't always make sense. Sure, you can do it, but you got to take a look at what you're dealing with now. More and more people are taking notice of this. A lot of investors, I got a lot of channel partners now that are working with me that want these properties. So they see that all this is going to pick up now. So, as much as distressed property and the pre-foreclosure stuff is not interesting to anybody, during an appreciating market, because guess what? Who wants to deal with that? It's just not fun. It takes longer than average. You can't cash it out in 30 days. All these things that aren't, sexy or fun in real estate. Well, when the market starts to change, people gravitate now towards the stuff they didn't like before. And we're starting to see that happen right now. So more and more people taking notice of this. The big investor buyers have taken notice of this for quite some time. That's why we have to beat them to the game, get to the homeowner, to the seller, before it goes to the auction. That's the real game here, guys. So anyway, that's my point. So just throwing this up here right now, this is the Tampa Bay MSA where I live. The median sales price in September for a home was $349,000. Just looking at single family homes here, not talking mobiles, manufactured condos, villas, just single family homes. The short sale median was $248,500. So roughly $100K in equity between those two. That's roughly a 29% discount on retail to where it is now. Now, clearly, the numbers are kind of weird because, big closed sales, very few short sales, but you can see the very few short sales median was low, and there's very few short sales, which means nobody's doing this, and people will start to do this, and they'll actually jump on board. And even the REO's median price was higher, $263 as opposed to $248 than the short sale stuff. So for people who don't like that, don't like them, or have they got the bad stigma or don't understand them, this is where it's going to be at in the future. And I've been doing a lot of speaking on different people's platforms and events here and there, and I can tell you that kind of like what happened last housing crisis, everything is kind of building underneath the radar. The shadow inventory is bulging, then it's all sort of going to explode, and there'll be more coming. And it's really about who can get there first and who can grab them, and who knows what to do with them. That's the whole point here, guys. So, but this is encouraging that I want you to know that this is my market, but you're going to have differences across the U.S. Some markets, like say a West Coast market, like for example, look what they said, California, ton of foreclosure filings. LA, ton of foreclosure filings going on. So, people in those type of markets may have equity, which means they're not, you won't do short sales, but what you'll end up doing though is maybe doing some quick sales where, hey, you're giving them some money to get out, because if they don't, they're going to lose it anyway. What I'm trying to say. So there's opportunities there, and eventually there'll be still markets in California that will need short sales as well too, because people still always over leverage anyway. But the point is, it's going to be metro specific, market specific, and it's not going to be a national thing. It's going to start kind of regionally and based on strength of market and number of defaults, and also people transitioning in and out of the location issues, stuff like that. So really, it's not going to be blanket and easy, but it's still going to be exciting and fun, and there's a ton of opportunity there. So anyway, guys, if you want to know how to engage the distressed market, drop me a line. Want to know about the short sale stuff, drop me a line. Want to know more about the build to flip and build to rent, drop me a line as well too. There's some really great opportunities there. And this market where I'm in right now, it's prime for it. I was actually at an event yesterday. A gentleman I know, a great guy. He's out of Illinois, runs a very large REIA up there. He's coming down here to do some work. His group has bought 200 lots. They're all from the Illinois area. They bought 200 lots down here in South Florida, and they're building. They're doing exactly that, build to rent and build to flip. So the opportunities there, we have this kind of getting set up right now, so inquire if you'd like. All right, guys, once again, thank you for the views, likes, comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Reach out to me if you need to, and we'll look forward to speaking with you pretty soon.